So, well, Panda, I like your green screen.
Thank you.
Is it so you can put a live CoinMarketCap feed in the background, like all the cool YouTubers?
Well, yeah, it's a bear market, so it's actually more for sponsorship.
Nice.
I'm looking for sponsorship from Dash and Bitcoin.com and stuff like that.
From Dash.
Verge will pay for anything, so feel free. No, actually, the real reason is because Samson, has been complaining so much about the quality of
What are you talking about?
the video that I had to set up professional lighting, and the only place I could do it without natural light was in my attic, and my attic looks kind of creepy. So I thought it was better to put the green screen there.
Yeah, Samson's really fussy about that. I mean, I had to like build this virtual video studio.
Your green screen is definitely more impressive than mine.
You're on your own private island.
Your editor is the guy complaining all the time that your video sucks.
Oh well, this should be better.
As long as you're not out of focus this time.
Are you in focus?
No, it looks in focus.
All right. So after 1 year, we have good video and audio quality for everybody.
It's our gift to our fans.
You will mess up anyway, some way.
Maybe.
Okay, let's start the show.
Magical crypto. The best thing to do is simply to hodl. What's a young pony to do in a sea of shady ICOs? A lion's courage can light up even the darkness of shadows. Unlike the corporate suits, the whale panda is wise. A chicken dreams about the moon while soaring in the skies. As Bitcoin sees new all-time highs. Crypto. All around me I see big blockheads. Magical crypto. The best thing to do is simply to hodl. We'll always ride the dip, and we'll always be the best of the rest.
Subscribe and like for more.
You gotta tell them where the button is. It's over here.
Where is
Here.
it? Here?
I think. No, it's here. It's here. I'm pretty sure it's here.
So, okay, introduction. So we still have the same four people. Litecoin creator, Satoshi Light, Charlie Lee, and Monero Enterprise Alliance creator, Ricardo Spagni. And Blockstream spy, Samson Mao. And me, Whale Panda.
Wait, I thought it was Spagni.
Spagni.
It's pronounced Spagni, like the GN in lasagna.
He's Italian.
You don't say lasagna.
I do.
You say lasagna.
I love my lasagna.
Hello, I'd like the fresh lasagna.
I thought it's just Ricky Rick.
That's what the friends call him. Okay, so first we start off with some bear market news. Bitmain firing up to 85% of its employees. Consensus firing 50% of its employees. So did you guys expect this? Or does it come as a surprise? I mean, with Consensus, the rate that they were growing, it was unsustainable, obviously, for during a bear market. So I don't think that really comes as a surprise to most of us. Maybe Bitmain does.
Yeah, Bitmain's a bit of a surprise. I thought they had a bigger war chest than that. Even after blowing the money, buying like 1 million Bitcoin Cash.
They did have a big war chest. It was just all in Bitcoin Cash, and Bitcoin Cash imploded, so...
I mean, they had money in a lot of coins, right? But the whole market tanked like 80-90%. So they probably didn't diversify enough into fiat.
Well, they only, for the miners, they also only accepted Bcash. So there's that. That was not a smart move.
They definitely had a lot of BCH. So
It's a brilliant move.
Yeah. Selling all the most liquid cryptocurrency for like the most illiquid one. Yeah, brilliant.
Well, they got some other problems too. I think they have a big debt to TSMC. I think it's like 306 million. And it looks like on their balance sheet, they have about 700 million in liabilities. And that's for pre-IPO investors. And what I've been hearing is that they need to repay the IPO investors if they don't IPO. So they're probably trying to lay off, slim down, and still try to IPO, I guess.
What I heard is that Jihan is actually being forced out. Is there any truth in that, or is it just rumors?
I heard the same thing, but until it's confirmed, it's really just a rumor.
Well, the rumor is both co-founders are being forced out, right?
Yeah, me too.
I mean, it sounds like just rumor.
And any thoughts on Consensus?
Well, Consensus, I think it's not a big deal. It's just laying off half the staff to get to Consensus 2.0, which is much better and going to succeed for sure. I mean, it's like the
Yes.
path to growth.
Because it's gonna have a beacon chain, and that will just like fix everything. They're using sharding.
So I actually talking about the beacon chain. So what I heard is that there will be two Ethereums at the same time. So you'll have the normal Ethereum that we're used to now, which is with the proof of work. And when they do the hybrid version, you have the proof of stake Ethereum 2, which you cannot do anything with at that point. It's only later when they that they plan to merge it.
So it's like a test net.
Well, you can keep the if you keep it long enough, then eventually it will become Ethereum. But while it's hybrid, you cannot use it yet.
That's brilliant.
It cannot be moved, it cannot be sold, it cannot be done anything with it.
What's the point?
Hope.
Hope for the merge, because I don't know the technical details, but I think then at some point it has to be merged and a part goes into a chart, and I'm really not the right guy to talk about this technical stuff. Anyway, I thought it was interesting.
So is this you know the Bon Jovi song "Living on a Prayer"? Yeah.
Well, I heard they're merging with Zcash also. So
Yeah,
is that a rumor?
that's also a rumor, yes. Well, they're going to implement ZK Snarks at some point, no?
They're going to implement everything.
So many plans.
It's like Voltron, right? If they connect 5 coins together, you become the really powerful coin.
I heard they're going to merge with ETC too.
Don't be silly. That's never gonna happen.
Yeah, okay. Enough about this bear market news. Let's talk about something positive. Or, well, relatively positive. Lightning. So, Lightning wallets that are being pushed now are custodial Lightning wallets, which of course are not as great. But at the same time, they're easier to use. So, what are your guys' thoughts on that? Charlie wanted this on the agenda. So.
Actually, you got that wrong. I didn't know anything about this topic.
That's mine.
Oh, was it yours?
I find that very racist.
He wants to talk about the custodial Litecoin wallets, not the custodial Lightning wallets.
Ah, okay. That makes sense.
Well, it is a hot topic right now, so we should talk about it.
I mean, is it fundamentally a problem if people use a custodial service to dip their toe in the water and play around?
I think it's okay. I mean, some people want ease of access.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Like that SPV wallets are used, like even web wallets are used. I think people just have to be aware of the dangers. And I think if you start off using a custodial service, you're probably not going to be buying like 1,000 coins and putting it in, right? You might buy like $10. But I think it's okay until we have non-custodial Lightning wallets. And then people can start to use those.
I think some people are just worried about it because they've been pushing so hard to get away from your blockchain.info and stuff like that. And now people are going to start using that sort of service again.
Yeah,
So I think that they're a bit worried about that.
that's a problem.
Coinbase is still the most popular wallet, right? I mean, it's easy to use, and the thing is, I think it's good kind of way to introduce new people into the space, and then after they learn more about it, they may decide to control their own money. But it's definitely a good stepping stone.
I can see the criticisms too, because some of them are not even open source, and they might even turn more people off because they might steal funds or something like that. But I think it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if a few of them turn out to be like scams, right? Actually are going to steal money from people. I mean, that happens. It's kind of inevitable. in this space.
So, as far as I understand, Wallet of Satoshi, it's not open source, right? I saw the link from Pavel Rusnak, the guy from Trezor, and he had a page on the Lightning wallet. And it seems that Wallet of Satoshi is not open source. I'm trying to find if there is a column with which one are custodial or not.
But the thing is, like, open source isn't gonna solve everything, right? I mean, you can still be open source, and you don't really know what kind of source they're actually running.
Yeah, I was going to say you can ship poison binaries, especially if it's a mobile app.
Yeah, so open source doesn't really solve that problem.
Yeah, but the longer something is open source and the more people are following it, then the less likely there's going to be bad actors, right? People are reviewing the code and there is more scrutiny.
Yeah, but I mean, the code can be perfect and you can still ship a poison binary.
Yeah.
You can't do reproducible builds in app stores, so...
Correct.
Yeah, so
open source could actually be a false sense of security. That's what I was saying.
So would you recommend people to use a custodial Lightning wallet?
For like $20, sure.
Yeah, I think I would too.
I think at the end of the day, like for any app that you're using that doesn't have reproducible builds, which is like 99% of them, reputation matters. You know, I mean, who are the people behind it? And are they at least making an effort to do a good job, or are they generally, nonchalant about security?
Yep, agree.
So since we did our last show, there was a lot of talk about the mining death spiral.
Yeah.
Which turned out to be, of course, nothing.
It totally happened.
But there were so many people. It totally happened. Bitcoin is dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand where even the FUD came from. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. That's the whole point why we have difficulty adjustments. It's to avoid something like that.
Well, it's not just difficulty adjustments. It's the Bitcoin difficulty adjustment, which is slow. It's not very fast moving, right?
Yeah.
Like there's like the Bcash EDA or whatever that is super fast adjusting. Now that can trigger a death spiral.
And in the end, if mining really slows down that much, the fees will go up, and it will be profitable again to mine.
Yeah.
So
it's self-correcting. But the other thing is there's a limit to the amount of adjustment that can happen in each adjustment cycle. So it's very, relatively speaking, it adapts slowly, which means it can compensate to price volatility a lot better than some of the quick adapting algorithms that try and track difficulty a lot more closely.
Yeah. It's harder to game a slow moving thing.
Correct. Yeah, I think we've seen this FUD a few times already, right? So it's not the first time I've heard people talking about the mining death spiral.
And now difficulty's back up 10%, and it looks like it's going to go up again.
Even the next time Bitcoin crashes, we'll hear about the death spiral again.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that people forget is that if a miner exits, like you've got a mining farm and you've got 1,000 pieces of equipment and you exit, you're going to sell that equipment to try and recoup some money. And that equipment might not be sold to a single player. It might be distributed amongst 100 or 200 miners, small scale miners, and they're going to just pick up and mine. So it's not always like miners exit the system and then the difficulty necessarily goes down indefinitely. It could go down, and when that equipment comes back into service within a week or two, it's back up.
Well, there's also this other FUD. I don't remember who was spreading it, saying that the hash rate is like 50%. Once the hash rate hits 50% of the total hash rate, then there's 50% of unused equipment that can be used to attack Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin will be not secure anymore once that happens.
Well, someone could also build 100% of the mining equipment we have now and attack the network.
Yeah.
I mean, the FUD, some of this FUD is not even clever. It's just, and I honestly, I don't think it's people being malicious. I think it's sometimes people just misunderstanding the economics or the game theory and going like, I've identified this thing that no one else has identified. And then you get people sort of latching onto that because it sounds reasonable.
You're exactly right. Like the problem is mining has been separated from the average user by such a big gap. I mean, even to the user that's using SPV wallet to a full node, there's a big gap. And then you have mining. So that they have such a very abstract idea of how mining works. It's not like you can just have 50% of miners sitting in one warehouse in one location ready to go. Like, these operations are massive, and people just don't understand the scale of these operations.
Yeah, I think it's a good point that people and I always get like the messages as soon as there's some FUD, like 4 or 5 people sending me a message like, should we be worried about this? What's going on? Should I sell my Bitcoin?
Sell it all.
Stuff. It's always the same kind of. It's also most of the time the same people. But yeah. But you're right. It's such a complex system with a lot of different fields of expertise to like at least some knowledge in them to evaluate the potential problems or to analyze if it's like any legitimate worries about it. Yeah.
Yeah. The mining death spiral is actually not my favorite. My favorite is that price follows hash rate.
Well, you know that Max Keiser is a huge fan of that, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Max, you're wrong.
Blockstream Satellite. So now you have full coverage. How many people are actually using it? Do you have like any idea if people are actually using it, or it's just like a vanity thing?
We have no idea, and that's how it's supposed to be. It's a broadcast service, right? Like, people can post pictures and tell us, but we can't actually monitor.
Potentially 1 billion people are using the Blockstream Satellite.
5 billion.
Potentially, yes.
I heard it doesn't exist, and it's just lies like the moon landing to try and make Blockstream not go.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, the point is that it's to improve. One of the aspects is to improve privacy, right? So you can get the Bitcoin blockchain and no one knows, and that's a good thing that we don't know who's using it.
I saw some people asking questions. Actually, this was supposed to be later on, but if you sell like a satellite kit in the Blockstream Lightning store or something like that.
Yes, that's the plan. So we're going to make a kit and put it in the Blockstream store, so you can just buy one click and get all the parts you need, except for the dish. The dish is really simple and basic, so you could just buy it locally or just find a used dish. But the point is that you just be able to get all the parts like the LNB and everything else just ready to go.
Well, if you make it as like plug and play like the Casa node, it should be fun.
It's probably going to be a little bit harder to be plug and play, but at least they can get the parts, and we'll have a little guide on how to set it up and plug it in.
So the Blockstream Satellite, it's just one way right now, right? You're just able to download blocks and transactions from the satellite?
Yes, and then you'll be able to broadcast probably by the time this show airs, hopefully, over an API. And the cool thing is that eventually we can go two-way. So bidirectional communications is possible. We just have to work it out.
So is it not true that you're only like a real cryptocurrency as soon as you have a satellite feed?
Yeah, that's the rule of thumb. But you can pay us to broadcast Litecoin and Monero blocks over Blockstream Satellite.
Oh, so that's the way that the Blockstream is gonna make some money. Okay.
Samson, I think Blockstream should pay me to support Litecoin.
Okay.
Samson, don't worry, I've got you, bro. I'll bring this up at the next Monero Enterprise Alliance board meeting.
Okay. And we don't take crypto, of course.
Of course. Credit cards only.
Yes.
So therefore you take Ripple?
No.
Oh.
No one takes Ripple.
But you said you don't take crypto, so...
Yeah, but that's not a crypto, or it's like the middle of nowhere.
So something interesting happened recently. Litecoin got a lot of extra attention through sponsorship.
Because Charlie became a UFC fighter.
Yeah.
That's true.
You did well, Charlie. You did quite well.
Yeah.
That's true. I visited the Octagon. It was pretty cool, actually.
Yeah. You healed up nicely.
So yeah, the Litecoin Foundation sponsored a UFC fight. Why UFC? Why are you sponsoring like a sports event? Isn't it like Dogecoin with its car? I mean, how relevant is it?
There's been a lot of sponsorships of like individual like athletes, but sponsoring an actual event is not really done, hasn't been done that much. And I thought it just seems more seems like the reach is better. The point of the sponsorship was, for me, it was more about just building the brand, because everyone's heard of Bitcoin. Not many people have heard of Litecoin, so I kind of wanted to like build that brand and make it more well known. Yeah, and it's helped a lot. I mean, we've reached a lot of people have reached out to us to talk about Litecoin just because they heard about the UFC sponsorship. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Plus, the fight was pretty amazing. I don't know if you guys watch.
So whose idea was it?
So we have a community manager who actually works for the parent company of UFC, and he connected us to the UFC. So it just kind of evolved from there. It was really a last minute thing. They had
But you got a lot of backlash
an opening
for it.
for that placement, the ad placement, and just talked to us and just kind of got together.
Oh yes,
quick.
because this proves now that you're a scammer, obviously.
Got a lot of hate from Bitcoin maximalists.
That's the gist of it, yeah.
I'm not sure exactly why. Yeah, because the Litecoin Foundation sponsored an ad for Litecoin, it makes Litecoin a scam. I think that's the idea, or maybe it became more of a threat to Bitcoin. I don't know. Why do you guys think Bitcoin maximalists all of a sudden started hating on Litecoin a lot more after that?
Who are you asking? The Monero guy or?
There's this idea that gets bounced around and has been said to me that anyone that doesn't support Bitcoin and Bitcoin only is inherently evil because you're distracting people away from Bitcoin. My counter to that is there are people who have heard of Bitcoin and they, for whatever reason, they have not been interested in dipping their toe in the water or playing around with it. And maybe they hear about Litecoin through the UFC sponsorship, and they go and they play with Litecoin because, maybe it's just a timing thing. And through that experience of using Litecoin or playing around with Litecoin, they encounter Bitcoin. And or they encounter Bitcoin when they're more ready to do so. And I think it's very unusual for people to start with an altcoin and completely disregard Bitcoin. It does happen, but I think it's only when they're completely fanatical, like almost with a religious fervor about some altcoin.
Bcash?
Yeah.
Ripple.
But yeah, generally speaking, people that get introduced through an altcoin, whether it is a friend or an advertising thing or a marketing scheme or whatever, they get funneled in and they then end up at least playing around with Bitcoin or buying some Bitcoin on an exchange or whatever. So, like, to a large degree, I agree that some of them can be a distraction, but I don't agree that all of them are a distraction. And if you take a look at a community like the Litecoin community or the Monero community, they tend to be, at least in the Monero community, with which I have the most experience, there's a lot of pragmatism and people are not discouraged from using Bitcoin. And there's none of this like, oh, Monero is, it happens very occasionally, but it's normally like knocked away. Monero is better than Bitcoin. People are sort of introduced to Bitcoin via Monero. The community is pragmatic enough to do that. And I think that there's got to be, you can't just like hammer away and expect that everyone on the planet is going to like use Bitcoin and ignore any other thing that might possibly have some purpose.
Yeah, most of the Litecoin community goes out there to push for both Bitcoin and Litecoin adoption. They try to get merchants to accept both Bitcoin and Litecoin. Not Monero though, because Monero is a scam coin.
I look in every community. There are going to be people who do say stupid stuff, but I mean, they're largely not a massive part of either the Monero or the Litecoin community that I've seen.
Yeah. So this discussion, as Ricardo said, we were planning to do this anyway, because Charlie yesterday tweeted. Or like 2 weeks ago when this is released, about like Bitcoin extremism versus Bitcoin maximalism. Extremism being like everything that isn't Bitcoin is a scam. You should never use it and it shouldn't exist and it all should go to zero. And maximalism is that some other things can exist, but Bitcoin will stay like the dominant player. It will stay king. But actually, I heard like people like Giacomo, they call themselves Bitcoin minimalists. So you also have that.
You mean altcoin minimalists?
No, Bitcoin minimalists.
How's that work?
Well, it's like only Bitcoin, minimalistic. Like there's nothing else.
All these terms are really, really stupid. And
Yeah,
Charlie, I don't think you should go and bait people. I mean, yeah, they attacked you, but there's no point to start a Twitter flame war. It just wastes time for everybody.
I actually wasn't trying to start a flame war. I mean, I didn't actually. I mean, I didn't think the term was that bad. I was just trying to kind of separate the two, right? People consider themselves Bitcoin maximalists, but still think that altcoins are fine, right? But then there are really extreme Bitcoin maximalist people where they think that altcoins either should not exist or will not exist because Bitcoin is gonna like crowd it all out, right? And all altcoin prices will go to zero in the end. And I think that's like a very extreme viewpoint. And I was actually just creating this poll to see where people fall, right? How many people are actually Bitcoin extremists versus just maximalists?
Yeah, but no one's gonna click. Yes, I'm an extremist. You're just triggering people.
Like it's like on the US immigration form, it says, "Are you a terrorist?" Yes, no.
Well, US also asks you if you're an alien or not. So,
well, I'll give you my take. So, I think all the terms are really stupid. So I'll just say this: I think Bitcoin is the most important cryptocurrency. I think there are other projects that are interesting, and whether they live or die is really up to them to prove themselves over time. I think Litecoin is a unique case, and I think I'm okay with the existence of Litecoin, and that might trigger some people. But
you better be okay with it, because if you're not, you should commit suicide because Litecoin exists.
Wow, that escalated quickly.
Yeah, that's gonna trigger people. But I'd say what is important to me is privacy and fungibility. Like being in control of your own assets. And Litecoin is fair. There's no pre-mine. Charlie didn't start mining it ahead of time. And
like Satoshi did.
Yeah. And Charlie divested.
That's going to trigger people too.
Charlie did divest, and that triggers people too. But right now, Charlie is divested of it, and it is fair. It's a fair coin. It's a different proof of work algorithm. And I think ultimately being able to, one more thing too, Litecoin has a market. So when I first really got into Bitcoin, I was at BTC China, and we have a few marketplaces. We have BTC CNY, LTC CNY, and BTC LTC. So 3 marketplaces. And people are just trading it. They're mining it and trading it. Oh yeah, we had the mining pool too. So we're mining Litecoin and people are trading it. So it's just like commodities to me. It's people are mining and trading these things, and there's a marketplace for it. Now, if there's a marketplace for it and Charlie's not scamming people, and that's subjective too, right? I don't think he is. But if he's not scamming people, I'm okay with it to exist. I'm okay for people to put an ad for it in USC or wherever, and I'm okay if people want to use it. It doesn't really bother me, right? And I think Litecoin is a good thing, because if we do have confidential transactions later and in Bitcoin, and Litecoin also manages to implement it, then we have 2 fungible commodities that can be mined. And the thing you have to understand is with mining, there's different economies around how the mining works. There's different manufacturers of ASICs, and there's different costs and different efficiencies. So it's like trading. You can get a leg up and access it through a fair and private way, which is mining. Buying something from an exchange is not a really fair and private way. The most fair and private way to access any coin is to mine it. And I'm okay that there is a fair coin that can be mined and accessed.
Okay, so I'll give you my take. I largely agree with Samson, but I think for me the biggest point is that, that Charlie's not scamming anyone, and there was no ICO. And most like Charlie and Ricardo, they're also pushing for Bitcoin adoption, and that for me is actually the most important part. Like if you have any other coins like a Verge, they're like all like only Verge, like Verge extremists also, or Ripple extremists, and they don't try to promote other things as well, like the king. I mean, Bitcoin is the king. Let's be honest. And if you combine the two, I see no issue with it. But for example, with Ethereum, now I'm going to trigger some people. With Ethereum, after their ICO, all the articles that came out was like a better Bitcoin. And all the articles that were going through consensus and even from Vitalik, a better Bitcoin. And that really bothers a lot of people. And I think that also caused a bit of the extremism, that people constantly see those attacks and then think like, again, all those altcoins are scams.
Yeah, I think, there's one last thing that I want to say, and I don't want to spend the whole episode talking about this, but I think just like when you outlaw something, criminals don't care if something is banned and outlawed. They're doing illegal stuff anyway, so they'll continue to use it. And it's the same with altcoins. Even if we had really fantastic communication and a very unified Bitcoin community that was able to explain to newcomers why altcoins are bad, scammers would still create altcoins. And there would be a terrible distraction because you'd constantly be trying to explain to people why those scammy altcoins are scammy. And I feel like in the absence of being able to obliterate every altcoin, which is not possible and not going to happen, that we're better off in a world where Bitcoin and a handful of responsible altcoins exist than a world where Bitcoin and a plethora of scammy altcoins exists. And the focus on educating people and on helping them see what's bad and what's good should be around the truly scammy altcoins. As you go higher up the ladder of scamminess, or I guess lower down the ladder of scamminess, to the ones that are less scammy, trying to attack them just seems futile because all you're doing is alienating people and creating this tribalism and religious fervor, which isn't helpful in the long run. Because we're never going to have a world where it's only Bitcoin. It's just not possible. Scammers are going to continue to create scammy altcoins.
Yeah, that's another point I want to talk about. Like, in an ideal world, everyone will use Bitcoin because it is the most secure, and you can divide it into smaller units, right? You don't need another smaller coin. But the reality is, if you just go back to the comparison of Bitcoin to gold, and it's like Charlie's analogy, like coin silver, you do have silver being used, right? And why doesn't everyone just use gold? Why do they use silver? Because it's cheaper. And it goes into a bit of human psychology. So you're underestimating human psychology if you think people will only use gold because, silver is cheaper. People do want things that are cheaper. Like, why do people buy Ripple? Because they thought it was cheap. Like, why do people buy penny stocks? Or why do people buy things that are 99 cents instead of $1? Because psychologically they want something that's a deal, right? So if I'm talking to someone and they're asking me, I want to get into crypto, I want to buy something, and they say, what should I buy? I'll say, well, buy Bitcoin. But they say, oh, it's expensive. And I try to explain to them that you can buy a fraction of a Bitcoin and all that. And they say, no, give me something cheaper. Then I'll say, okay, buy Litecoin. But there are people that want to buy something cheaper. And by design, whether intentional or not, Charlie, I don't know. Litecoin is always going to be cheaper because there's more of it and the blocks are more often, right? So I don't know. That analogy triggers some people, like the silver to gold, but the reality is there is that silver to gold. I mean, why do people value silver?
There's definitely human psychology. I mean, it's also people like choice, right? If there's only one, they want like a choice, even if the second choice may be an inferior product. They just want a choice, and I think it's human psychology, and people like to root for the underdog. So if Bitcoin is dominant, they like to buy Litecoin and root for Litecoin. Yeah, I mean, I think like Ricardo said, there's if Litecoin and Monero don't exist, then you have Bitcoin and all scam coins, right? So you definitely want. I think Bitcoin, like the Monero community and like community, are definitely helping out, and people go out there to push for both for Bitcoin also. Like I'm always saying good things about Bitcoin. I'm not saying Bitcoin is a scam, but there's definitely a lot of like altcoins that are anti-Bitcoin. They think they're the next Bitcoin, or I've heard like the Dash. They have like the Dash money, right? Whatever the money they get from the mining blocks, right? Where the Dash treasury. I heard that if you have a project that pushes for only Dash, they'll more likely approve it. Whereas if you have a project that pushes for Dash and Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency, they won't approve it because it doesn't really help Dash that much, right? If all the other cryptocurrencies are supported by the new payment processor, right? So
yeah, okay.
So that's definitely not good.
Okay, let me just finish this topic with, and they're not all going to zero. Definitely not. It's too profitable to trade and to buy them cheap. And as long as they're on exchanges, those even the shitcoins will not go to zero.
Well, let me just put this out there. So unless you've actually lived through a central bank shutting down your exchange, you really don't understand what happens in a world where you cannot trade fiat for a crypto. So I think you have to think a bit more long term and a bit adversarially. Like mining is important. Being able to mine something, and if there's a market for it, like Litecoin, you can mine Litecoin and sell it for Bitcoin. If someone's willing to buy it from me, I don't care. I'll sell it to you. So I think it's a good thing that fair things that can be mined and traded are a good thing.
Okay, I think we talked enough about this. So next topic, Veriblock. So Jameson Lopp posted about it on Twitter that apparently 20% of all the Bitcoin transactions are now done by Veriblock. And even by their, it was proof of proof or something. I really didn't look into it that much. So the transactions are up return, which means that there's like data that they're storing or timestamping in Bitcoin, basically.
Are they just timestamping their blocks and transactions into the Bitcoin blockchain?
Oh, wait, let me read it because I really didn't read. So it's proof of proof. Proof of proof is a novel consensus protocol invented by Veriblock Inc., which has Jeff Garzik in it, which allows any blockchain, including sidechains and permissioned ledgers, to inherit the full security of Bitcoin in a truly decentralized, trustless, transparent, and permissionless manner. It does so by gamifying the publication of data representing a blockchain's present state to Bitcoin, directly or indirectly, such that any user can participate and receive compensation for enabling blockchains to inherit Bitcoin security. Did that answer your question, Charlie?
No. Not quite.
So basically they're spamming Bitcoin.
Well, yeah, they're paying for the transaction fees.
Yeah, so
spammers
still pay for email servers.
So it just means Bitcoin transaction fees are still too low.
Yes, exactly. If they're doing 20% of the Bitcoin transactions, that's like an incredible amount. And it's also very inefficient, apparently.
But it just means that Bitcoin blockchain isn't being used to its full capacity. So we still have at least 20% more room to grow.
But it also, I mean, why aren't they doing it like the way Open Timestamps does it? I mean, they can just peg a Merkle route in. It's very dumb.
I think they might be, right? But they're just doing a lot of it, right? A lot more transactions.
They're doing a lot of Merkle routes, or like in other words, you could build up all these like checkpoints or whatever it is over the course of a day, and then once a day just put a Merkle route into the blockchain.
Doesn't Omni do it like one transaction per block or something like that?
But Omni is actually doing something, right? It's actually moving coins for that transaction.
I think it's a stupid project, and they're doing it really stupidly, just so they can have something called proof of proof. And that's it. Let's move on.
Yeah, it's a dumb project.
You heard it here first.
Well, they put Jeff Garzik as tech expert, so that kind of gives you an indicator.
So, okay, let's move on. Let's just forget about Ferryblock. We had a lot of questions about Grin and Beam, so Mimble-based. That's difficult. Mimble-Wimble-based cryptocurrencies are now launching. I believe that Beam launched a couple of days ago, and Grin is launching in like 10 days, or as soon as this is released. What are you guys' thoughts on these? Did you look into them? Are you mining them?
I'm thinking about mining Grin, actually.
Oh.
Is it GPU mineable?
I think so.
Yeah, it's a variant of Cuckoo Cycle.
But I don't like Beam because they have a pre-mine or a founder reward or something like that. So it's like Zcash to me.
If anyone wants to like really go and dig in a little bit, Tari Labs University has got a Grin versus Beam report, which is worth reading. The Grin and Beam guys have contributed back to the report to correct some things where, you know, we like parts of the report were written based on the white paper or the documentation, but actually the code represented the truth, the source of truth. So, you know, it's been updated. It's pretty current. It's worth reading. It is largely technical, but it's on the Tari Labs University website, and it's pretty easy to find if you just search for Tari Labs Grin Beam. Anyone who's interested in the comparison between the two should go and read that. But I think that all in all, Mimblewimble is very exciting. It's one of the reasons why, as a community, the Tari community is sort of leaning heavily towards Mimblewimble as a sort of base for the MergeMind protocol. And I'm interested to see what improvements happen now that these projects are going live, over and above the base Mimblewimble protocol.
Well, I think there's a problem with Grin, which is they do have infinite inflation, which is a turnoff to a lot of people that like Bitcoin, and it's not really clear why they did that.
Is it? It's only a turnoff if you're trying to treat it as an investment, right? If you're looking for a thing that's going to definitely, possibly, probably increase in value. If you're just looking for a thing to use as a currency, then who cares if it's got infinite inflation?
Yeah, but if you just want a currency, why don't you use Lightning?
That's a valid argument. So in my mind, it's the deflationary versus inflationary thing is an interesting discussion. Are you encouraging saving versus spending in that economic model? And I think that Lightning is sort of separate from that because Lightning is still reliant on Bitcoin's economic model.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's bound to Bitcoin's economic model.
Yeah. So actually, I have a question for you, Ricardo.
Sure.
Do you feel threatened?
Right now, I mean, you're not threatening me, so I feel fine.
As a Monero developer against these new privacy-oriented currencies?
That's a good question. So I think the important thing is, like, I'm a big advocate of anything that improve or that provides improved privacy. I even think that, my criticisms of Zcash are not the privacy enhancing tech. I think that privacy enhancing technology, if it's done correctly, is overall net positive. And I will absolutely, over time, have criticisms of Grin and Beam as things flesh out more. And I think criticisms are good. Criticisms of Monero make Monero better. So, like, those criticisms should be viewed in a positive light. I don't feel threatened because if there is if Bitcoin, for example, had to add really scalable, really powerful privacy systems, then I would expect people to use it. I don't think it stops Monero existing. And I think Monero is an interesting project, whether it has 1 user or 100 users or 1 million users, and whether the price is, 2 cents or 20 cents or $2 doesn't really matter so much to those in the technical community who work on it, because they find it interesting, because they find a different code base to Bitcoin's interesting, and so on.
And Charlie, are you scared?
I'm not really scared of Whale Panda. Is that what you're asking me?
We know you're scared.
Because I fought for the UFC already, so I'm not scared of you. Well, I'm pretty excited about the Mimblewimble coins. I think Mimblewimble is the next Bitcoin, right? Actually, no. I think it's one of the few coins that's the technology is able to do privacy and scalability without sacrificing anything. The privacy actually helps with the scalability, which is very interesting to me when I first heard about it. Right, you have coins like Zcash and like ZK Starks and like the Ring CT, which are private, but then they're not very scalable because they add so much more bloat to not necessarily bloat, but so much more data to the blockchain, right? Which makes it not very scalable. But with Mimblewimble, you have a system where it's private, but the way they make it private is that they throw away stuff, right? So it actually makes it even more scalable than even Bitcoin. So that makes it very interesting to me, and I'm excited to see where this technology goes. So we'll see, I guess. I might buy some coin when it's on exchange, but
Mimblewimble can be implemented in Bitcoin as a sidechain or even on the main chain.
You couldn't implement anything
anything can be implemented as a sidechain, right?
So do you see that as like a logical next step?
The issue I have with sidechains is always been like, how do you secure it, right? Do you use merge mining? Do you use
Federation, right?
And either solutions aren't really that great in my mind. So having a separate coin secured by mining is still, that security is still the best, right? Proof of work security. So yeah, it could be done as a sidechain for Bitcoin and for Litecoin, but I'm not sure how useful it is as a sidechain or how secure it is as a sidechain.
Okay, let's move on to the questions then. So a question from Mr. Huddle. When will Charlie and Ricardo stop working on altcoins and start contributing to Bitcoin? I think we largely discussed this earlier, that they're actually promoting, like in Charlie's case, like Litecoin and Bitcoin at the same time. But Ricardo also mentioned that you're working on that Tari Labs is working on the Lightning implementation. Yeah.
So I mean, like it's not to say that we disregard Bitcoin or whatever. I mean, we've got an entire team of people at Tari Labs that are working on Rust Lightning, and I think that it's not everyone's going to do that. Not every altcoiner or whatever you want to call us is going to also contribute to Bitcoin development. But I think that there needs to at least be some credence given to those of us that do.
Yeah,
and I like to think that like my work with Litecoin is actually helping out Bitcoin in the long run. Like adding segregated witness to Litecoin and getting that activated, I thought really helped with Bitcoin.
Well, I think Charlie doesn't get a lot of credit that he is due, and I think because he's a kind of low-key guy, he doesn't brag a lot, but when it was like Bitcoin Unlimited time, Charlie and I spent a lot of time talking to exchanges and explaining what Bitcoin Unlimited is and why it's bad, and that's stuff that a lot of people don't know about. When it was Scaling Drama back in like 2015, this was the first time I met Charlie in person. It was at Scaling Bitcoin in Montreal, which is the conference to try to sort out the bullshit. And
yeah, I just want to say, Charlie, like I got distracted by a waggling tail in the bottom corner.
This is my pod dog.
Now you're really doxed. Now everyone's gonna find the dog and kidnap it.
He's really doxed.
Dognat.
Doxed.
Here, take a look at it. Take a look at her face and make sure you recognize her.
let's do the other questions quickly.
Wait. I got some more stuff to add. Okay, but
Really?
Yeah, stop interrupting him when he's saying good things about him.
no. So I said a lot of good things about Charlie, but I also have to counterbalance that. Like, there's stuff that Charlie says that I
Actually,
don't.
never mind.
There's stuff Charlie says that I don't agree about too. Like, Litecoin is a sidechain of Bitcoin. That's stupid. I don't think you can say.
I thought that was, I didn't really mean it.
Yeah.
I didn't really think it was sidechain. Just effectively.
I'm just saying,
It's
like,
kind of similar.
there's like a balance. Like, I think people are too hard on Charlie, but then there's stuff that he says I don't agree about. But there's stuff everyone says that, you can't agree with every single person in the world. So I think it's fine. But Charlie, people have to realize Charlie does help when he can. And I think Ricardo does, have his Lightning team. So he gets credits.
Why did Panda's effort not make it into the box mining song? I saw the outtakes. Well, it actually is because I didn't want to sing. And Charlie also didn't want to sing, but we were fine being in the end, like just saying like "Happy Birthday Bitcoin" and waving. And Vlad asked, "Did Fluffy Pony sing in the school choir? And if so, was he by any chance a tenor?" So
I didn't sing in the school choir. No, man.
Mir is like a professional singer, and she actually said that Ricardo is a good singer. So there's still like a future for you. You can still change and become like a professional singer.
If this cryptocurrency thing doesn't work out, then I'm going to be on America's Got Talent.
The Voice. Is there a Voice in South Africa?
Yeah, we've got The Voice South Africa. It's
The Voice of South Africa.
It's about as good as The Voice in the States.
Okay, and the last question, I'm just reading it because it's so stupid. Which coins under $1 have great potential? I mean, we've been through this so many times. The price of the coin doesn't matter. It's about the total supply. You can have $1 coins, and if you have like, or under $1 coins, and if you have like 10 billion coins, what's the point?
Yeah, one Satoshi is less than $1.
Yeah.
So Bitcoin.
Don't look at the price, look at the supply. That's my...
The question is like asking which penny stock has potential. Good luck. Pick one.
The pink one.
Which dollar store do you guys like? I think we should compare dollar stores in the next episode.
Yeah.
The amazing thing is dollar stores don't always sell stuff for $1. It's just like Tether.
Sometimes it's $2.
Okay, and I guess that's the end of the show.
Magical crypto. Magical crypto. Magical crypto will always be the best of the best.
No, guys. So as everyone knows, or should know, we're doing hoping to do Magical Crypto Conference this year. Around the time Consensus is happening, we have a venue that we've secured. It's a really great venue. We think the conference is going to be awesome. We're going to try to keep ticket prices as affordable as possible. We know it's a bear market, and not everyone can afford to splurge on a $2,000 ticket. We think it's going to be like really cool. We're looking at 2 different tracks in 2 halls, and then like a sponsorship sort of booth area. And we're hoping that it's not just going to be sponsors shilling their wares, that it'll also be stuff that they'll have for sale. So if you want to buy a Ledger or a Trezor, for example, and you want to buy it directly from them instead of from some dodgy eBay seller, then we're hoping that that's the sort of thing that will happen. The talks will mostly be technical or at least from technical speakers, but we're going to try to keep them accessible. We understand that not everyone that will attend has a deep understanding of the space and the technology. One thing we are looking for right now are sponsors. So if you are interested in sponsoring Magical Crypto Conference, then hit us up and we'll give you some more information about it and see if it's something that your company or you as an individual would be interested in sponsoring.
Yeah. We're looking at you, Alex Morkos.
and Alex Petrov
And Blockstream.
and Tari.
You gotta call Adam.
No, so we want to do it the weekend before. Just to be clear, the weekend before consensus. I think it's 11 and 12 of May,
It'll be a great conference.
and it's a very very cool location in New York.
It'll be a lot of fun, and you can be there for Blockchain Week without needing to attend consensus at all if it's too expensive for you.
And we'll be selling stuffed animals, right, Samson?
Yes.
And we'll be giving some secret swag away also.
It's a lot of work.
Yep.
Please sponsor us.
I think the number one sponsor gets to have dinner with Charlie, right?
Only if you sponsor us for $1 million.
Cheap date.
I have to feed my dog.
Thank you for watching, and hope to see you next time. Bye.
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 Beep, beep, beep.
And if you enjoyed our short, click here to subscribe.